What's up, everybody, and welcome to another edition of On a Couch Talking Sports. As always, I am Robbie, joined by Kyle. Wait, I got one over there. Joined by Kyle. Kyle, what's going on, my friend? How are you?
I'm doing okay. I've had a roller coaster of past couple weeks. There has been a reason why we put the show on a slight hiatus, and I'll get into that in a little bit. It involved an accident, and it does have to do a little bit of what we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you if you kind of wanted to at least somewhat sort of mention what you've been through over these last couple of weeks. The good news is that you're on the mend. You're okay. Definitely. Which is, knock on wood, is a good thing. But I kind of had a little run-in with just something.
Yeah, kind of a big something, but so for those of you who don't know, I'll get into it right now. For those of you who don't know, I think this will be a pretty good segue into what we're going to talk about anyways. I got into a bit of an accident. I usually bike to work. So this was on a random morning. It was like around 8:30 or whatever. And this happened a couple weeks back. And I was biking to work. And as I was going on a rotary, I ended up, no joke, actually getting hit by a car. So that was very interesting. So just to. I ended up actually having to wear a brace. I was almost going to wear it on the show, but apparently the doctors say I don't need to wear it as much, which is kind of nice. But so basically what happened was when the car hit me, I actually flew on the hood, and I ended up cracking the windshield, which is kind of crazy. It felt kind of like a movie stunt, so which is kind of cool in certain ways, but in lots of other ways, it was also very painful. After that, I landed on the ground, and that was that. Rushed to the hospital, and so that's kind of just been my couple weeks, just kind of recovering. I've had to take some time off work, but such is life.
So two things before we get into the episode. Number one is only you could find something cool about getting hit by a car on your bike. And second of all, so for those of you folks at home, I want to let you know a little inside joke that Kyle and I had. Kyle and I always joke around that we have this innate power for cars to completely ignore us when we're trying to cross streets in crosswalks. We'll just be standing there, and cars will just keep coming on by, just completely ignoring the fact that we are standing there waiting to cross. But that was supposed to be a joke, and it's kind of translated into a little bit of real life, which I don't know if I really like that. So, but like I said, the good news is that you're doing better and you're on the mend, and so that is very important, and glad it was not more serious than it could have been. So,
thank you.
But that is actually, as Kyle was saying, a perfect segue into our episode for tonight, because we are going to dive into the lovely world of sports injuries, or precisely our sports injuries. And what do we mean by that? Is sort of discussing injuries that we've either suffered in different sporting competition, or even like injuries that we've suffered that have affected our ability to participate in sports and sporting competition. So since it was Kyle's idea, and sort of basing it off of recent experiences, I am going to let him go first tonight. So Kyle, why don't you sort of dive into the lovely world of your injury history, or however you want to take this. Go right ahead.
Okay, so one of my injuries, I'll talk about one of the first ones I remember. This was when I was actually playing. Now this wasn't like an organized sport or anything. This was actually technically more of like a pickup game. This was in 5th grade. I had actually sprained my arm when I was playing basketball in 5th grade, and I was
Ouch.
yeah, that was a lot of fun. It was like super major though. Luckily, I only had to wear the sling for I think it was like for a few weeks or for maybe even shorter than that. But what happened was, so this was outside during the winter, and when I was playing basketball with some of my friends, this was actually back when I was living in New Jersey. I had because this was after snowfall, so there was a lot of salt on the ground, trying to melt all the snow as naturally. So you can probably see where this is going now. I ended up actually taking a little bit of a slip, and I ended up falling onto my arm. I believe it was my right arm, and yeah, that caused a nice little sprain. So I was out of playing pickup games for a little bit. So
Now the question is, were you at all salty about it?
a little bit, yeah, a little bit.
Don't get those tomatoes out, please.
Good one, Robbie.
I'm chock full of them.
Yes. Keep them coming. The next one I remember was this was actually one of the biggest sports injuries that I've gotten. So this was actually flash forward to high school when I was playing football. This was during my sophomore year. So I'll talk about.
I think I remember this.
Yeah. Like, no, you. That's right, you did, because this one of them took a while. So I'll talk about 2 injuries. One of them's kind of a funny one, actually. This was during our preseason. I actually ended up getting stung by a bee, like twice in the same week.
Ooh, ouch!
And,
that stings.
Yeah. Yes.
I gotta stop. I really have to stop.
Keep going. No. You're gonna keep going on this. Nope. You started that train. You gotta ride till the end, man.
I'm embarrassed for myself that this is the turn that I've taken so
No,
far
you
in
should
this
be
episode.
proud. You should honestly be proud. I am so proud of you right now. This is amazing. Oh, sorry. I think I accidentally pressed the wrong button. I may have muted my.
No, I saw that for like a split second, but you actually you were okay. So don't worry about it. Yeah.
I was just trying to get the split screen, but anyways, so yeah, that was my that was kind of, to start off the football preseason. I was doing a push up, and I literally had put my hand on the ground, and I literally felt a jolt. It was like putting your hand on electricity. I just felt a jolt on it was like on my finger, and it was like twice in the same week. It was crazy because we started preseason in the middle of August, in like the end of August, and it was where it was hot, and the bees were all kind of out there, and we had some small flowers in the field. So yeah, that happened a couple times. It wasn't the best feeling, but whatever. It's a bee sting.
Hey, you know what? I've been stung by a bee a couple times in my life, and yeah, it's not pleasant, but you just gotta tough through it. So
yeah. Exactly. And the other one that happened, now this actually affected me during the football season, and also actually ended up affecting me kind of a little bit in the long term, because I actually ended up having to get an operation because of this. So when I was in so this was like in the middle of the season, I'd say more. And I remember I was doing like a lot of up downs, and I just kind of had this like strange pain in my leg. And it felt really uncomfortable just to like run and do all the exercises. So what ended up happening was I actually had to be out of the season for 2 weeks. I attended practice. I had, I think I had like a temporary cast for a little bit. So I was just kind of there in the t-shirt, just kind of like watching practice, which was, it was kind of boring. I was, waiting to come back and, playing, just back in the game and everything. Yeah, so what I found out later on was I actually had some extra bone and like cartilage growing in my leg, like the inside of my leg. So, I was able to luckily play, after just 2 weeks. I was only out for 2 weeks, and I was able to come back in and finish the season luckily. But then I found out that that was kind of it was just a thing I had for a while, growing up. So I actually had to get an operation, and I had to be out for the summer pretty much from doing any kind of exercises. So it took like about a month and a half to heal, but such is life.
Gives new meaning to the term growing pains.
Yeah. Yup. Nailed it. Rob, you are on fire. You're on fire.
Ooh, gotta just wipe myself off a little bit here. Just can't let it burn. It's just.
Yep. Just yeah. And honestly, I think that's about it. Those are really the biggest ones that I've gotten throughout sports. Honestly, I think it was really sophomore year was like the most impactful. I feel like season. The rest of the sports, I don't think I remember too many injuries. If I remember some, I'll bring them back up. But yeah, that's about it on my end.
Cool.
Bike injury.
Well, not really cool, but more like ow. But yeah, yeah, definitely some interesting stuff there. On a number of different fronts. Yeah, so I got a couple as well. My first one, I'm going to sort of start recently and sort of work my way back. My first one was actually over the last, I think it was like a year or two ago. I had some pain in my shoulder that I actually went and did some physical therapy for, and it didn't really I didn't have to miss any sports competitions, but for those of you who don't know, I actually one of my gigs that I do is I umpire baseball, and so when I would umpire baseball, it would impact me in the sense that it would be a little bit uncomfortable, I'd be making a strike call or something like that because it was in my sort of strike pointing shoulder. So it definitely would provide, unfortunately, some discomfort while I was doing that. But the exercises through physical therapy really helped me to be able to strengthen that shoulder and not have any more of those issues. And also, I coach baseball too on the side, and so just throwing batting practice and stuff like that. Again, made it a little bit uncomfortable, but I was able to sort of power through it. And now, like I said, I don't really have that issue anymore. But the two main ones that I want to talk about are the first one was I want to say it was 3 or 4 years ago. I was kind of like Kyle's pickup basketball story. I was actually doing some pickup baseball. Not really a game per se, more like a home run derby with some friends at a local field. And I was pitching to one of my friends, and he was a very good hitter. And so what happened was he hit a line drive right back at me, and it caught me right kind of high up in the knee area, right above the knee, sort of up in the thigh, the upper thigh. And it was quite painful, and so I was able to kind of get up and sort of I guess some the adrenaline was at work, so I was able to keep going, and it wasn't too bad. And I went home and I kind of iced it down before I had to go to work that afternoon, and so it wasn't too bad. Literally by the time, for those of you who don't know, I worked at that time in an after-school program, a different one than I do now. And so I got done with work. I started work at 2 o'clock usually, and I got done around 6. So in that 4-hour period, the pain in my leg got progressively worse and worse and worse. By the time, when I left work, I could barely, walk out to my car. I was basically, hobbling out across the parking lot to get to my car from the school. It was that painful. So I went home and I basically spent the rest of the night in bed with ice on my leg, and it felt a lot better the next morning. But it was definitely, I thought for a second maybe I had broken something or done some serious damage, but it was really just a a really bad bruise and really bad contusion as they call it. So I was okay the next day, and
Okay,
definitely
okay.
felt a lot better, and so that was good. But the biggest sort of when I think of like sports related injuries for me, the biggest one has to be in sixth grade. I actually broke my thumb. It's like the one time in my life that I've broken a bone. I was walking. I was at my grandparents' house, and it was February, so it was like kind of cold and icy out. And so I was to walking out my grandparents' house, and I slipped on their driveway on a sheet of black ice and sort of landed right on my thumb, and it's this
Oh,
thumb right here, my right thumb, and yeah, I broke it.
oh,
So I went home right afterwards. It was a little bit sore, and it was you could tell it was starting to swell a little bit. But then my mom was like, let's just take you to the doctor just to make sure, because it looks like definitely looks worse than the other one. And so I went and they x-rayed, and sure enough it was broken. So the sports tie-in here is that I had to miss the last game of my CYO basketball season, which I think I actually kind of mentioned in one of our last episodes when we were talking about like our middle school basketball experiences. I had to miss the last game of my CYO season. Plus, I had to miss my entire town basketball season, which was really tough. Like I had to I went to a couple of my town teams games and like basically sat on the side and like had to just watch them play, and it was really tough. Definitely really wanted to be out there. And then little league baseball season was coming up, and so the first like couple practices I couldn't throw. Like they wanted to hello. We have lost Kyle. Well, I'm going to continue here until we get Kyle back here. But yeah, so I for the last couple games, or for the first couple practices of our CYO season, I actually broke my thumb. What am I saying? For the first couple of practices of Little League season, sorry, Kyle being just kind of distracted me there. Sorry for my little, I don't know what you want to call it, but for the first couple of practices for Little League season, I couldn't throw. I had to kind of like just roll the ball in to my coach, who happened to be my dad, and so that was kind of tough. But luckily, it was only for a couple of practices, and I was able to actually like get back into playing and have a successful Little League season. Yeah, I'm not. This is really interesting, folks. The fact that we've never actually lost Kyle during an episode before. We've usually only lost me. Well, I've been lost a couple of times. I don't know if you guys have actually seen me being lost, but regardless. So we're gonna sort of transition on here again while we wait and hope that Kyle is able to log back in here. We are going to sort of transition on to the Robbie's favorite football recap slash fantasy football recap. And so I'm going to start off with my fantasy football. I'm actually just going to hold on, bear with me for a second, folks. I'm just going to text Kyle to make sure that he is coming back. But regardless, we will power on, folks. This is interesting. Oh, he apparently lost his Wi-Fi. So that is very interesting. So like I said, I'm going to keep going here. I'm going to keep going here with my, like I said, my fantasy football recap and my Robbie's favorite football recap. So unfortunately, I'm having kind of a tough start to the fantasy football season. I am 0-3 currently on the year. And my last game was a very close one. I lost 183.2 to 177.1. I did have some really good performances. Like literally all my players, it's kind of funny because really all my players performed like at or above their projected totals. Like Carson Wentz had 45 points at quarterback. Dalvin Cook had 29 points. The Baltimore defense had 21 points. Julian Edelman had a tough game. He only had 4 points. But like Kareem Hunt had 14. Smith-Schuster had 15. So, I mean, Allen Robinson had 25. But unfortunately, it was just, ran into a couple of really good performances. I know for the other team, Alvin Kamara had a big game of 45 points. So it was too bad. It was too bad. I definitely am hoping to bounce back next week and avoid being 0-4. That would be really, really bad. But so for my favorite football recap, the Patriots are now 2-1 on the season. They defeated the Las Vegas Raiders at home this past Sunday, and Cam Newton had another pretty decent game. Didn't throw as well as he did the first couple weeks, but they definitely made up for it, especially in the running game. Looked pretty solid, and like I said, it was very impressive to watch. And unfortunately, it was a good victory in the sense that the Raiders were 2-0. So a lot of people were sort of looking at this as somewhat of a big early season test. And the what's it called? The Patriots passed that test to sort of bounce back from a tough week 2 loss to Seattle. And so, as I said, the Patriots now stand at 2-1 on the year, and they have a big game coming up this week. I just want to make sure that I have the opponent. I'm pretty sure it's Kansas City, which is always a very, very tough game. Because the Patriots will be playing the Chiefs in Kansas City. Last time the Patriots played in Kansas City, they won the AFC Championship game back in 2019. So hopefully the Pats can get it done and end the Chiefs' undefeated season so far. And you just never know, just hoping for more good things for Cam Newton, the offense. And, ladies and gentlemen, rejoining us, finally, we hope. Let's see. Is he working? He's connected. Kyle is back.
I think I'm back. Okay.
There you go. He's back.
Good.
Don't worry, buddy. I was powering on without you. I'm still going live here. You are. It's good to have you back. I was just in the middle of my Robbie's fantasy football recap, which I lost in fantasy this week, but the Patriots won, and my other favorite team, the BC football team, improved to 2-0 on the season with a victory over Texas State this past Saturday, as they had to win it on a last-second field goal, but they were able to pull it out. So that was very exciting. So they will now remain at home to take on the University of North Carolina this weekend, who is ranked, I think, 15th in the country. So it should be a big early season test for the Eagles as they look to remain undefeated on the young season. And so Kyle has perfect timing, all things considered, because now we can transition into his favorite segment of the show, the Sue's Reviews. Kyle, you got any reviews for us this week?
Yes. So actually, I had a really good sports movie I saw recently. I feel like you actually might like this one too.
Okay.
I forget if you heard this one. Have you ever heard of the movie called The Way Back?
No, it does not sound familiar, but I am intrigued.
Yeah, it's honestly going into this movie, I didn't really expect too much. So but I was honestly surprised. I actually really dug the whole story and the characterization and everything. So basically, the movie is so Ben Affleck stars as basically this guy who's like washed up and he he's really down on life. He works as a construction worker.
Okay.
He's an alcoholic and he's just chugging beers like every night, like by the max. And what happens is, so you find out early in the movie that he was a high school basketball star at a Catholic school. I forget the exact Catholic school's name, but basically the superintendent of the Catholic school reaches out to him and asks him if he could coach their current high school basketball.
Oh wait, I've heard. I think I've like seen like trailers or something like that for this movie.
Yeah.
At some point, yeah, it definitely sounds more familiar now that you mention it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So so basically it's about this guy who really finds like it's really for him it's kind of like it's like a big redemption arc, and he's really at the lowest point of his life. And the thing is, you don't really know why initially, but without spoiling anything, you are going to find out as you watch the movie, and it's going to end up making sense. You're going to be like, oh, okay. You're going to understand why he got to that point. And they tell the story through some flashbacks here and there, but the focus of the movie really is about him and him coaching the team as kind of like that was kind of his way he could kind of like get back in the swing of things, and the relationship he has with the team is really great. And you kind of see his dynamic, which is really funny too, because he's like cursing all the time, and a lot of times he forgets. He's like, "Well, I'm at a Catholic school," and the guy has to always remind him, "Okay, no more cursing." And it's got some really funny beats there, but it's also very dramatic. It's got a very heartfelt story. I highly recommend this movie. I literally went in it with very low expectations, but Ben Affleck is fantastic as the lead role. And the supporting cast was really good too. And the high school kids, the basketball team, they had a lot of great personalities there. And honestly, yeah, if you're just looking for a good movie, it's on HBO, but I'm sure it'll come out in other streaming services later on, or I'm sure you can find a way to rent it too. So yeah, if you're looking for just a kind of a good, very solid sports movie with a touch of like Hoosiers, it's kind of like it kind of reminds you of Hoosiers at some points too. Then I highly recommend it. It's called The Way Back, starring Ben Affleck. Definitely check it out.
Cool. I will. Yeah, I may have to definitely check that out at some point because yeah, definitely. I'd heard about it and then forgotten about it, but I definitely will have to give that a watch at some point. So thank you, Kyle, as always, for another riveting review. Now that you are back on our screens and your technical difficulties have been fixed.
Well, not exactly. Yeah, I found another way to get working again, so that's okay.
Yeah, you got you missed me blubbering through, trying to powering through in your absence, but it was all good. It was all good. Luckily,
Right.
we got your injury tales out of the way before we had that issue. But
Well, thank
yeah,
goodness.
Yeah, that would have been really awkward. But yeah, so that's going to wrap it up for another edition of On a Couch Talking Sports. Thanks as always for joining us, everybody, and stay safe out there. Stay healthy. Don't run into any cars with your bikes or anything like that, or vice versa. Don't run into any bikes with your cars. Don't do either of those two things. We do not recommend either of those two actions.
Bikes and cars don't mix,
Yeah, bikes unless there's a bike on top of a car, because somebody's going. Anyway, I'm going completely off on a tangent here.
You're thinking like Statham. I like it.
I don't know, something.
You're thinking like Jason Statham. That's good. Anyway.
Sure. But anyway, that's Kyle. I'm Robbie, and we are signing off for another edition of On a Couch Talking Sports. We will see you next time, everybody, and take care. Bye.